what is your child's favorite memory of you?
Listen up, zombies. Yeah. Would you consider yourself to be a good apple?
So you're Oprah.
Yeah.
To me, you're white. Am I wrong?
I mean, if you see white.
Work on your kids. They're gonna need it.
That's not love that's in the air.
You can't out-sin God's grace. Hello, and welcome to Wretched. My name is Todd Friel. I am your host. The wretch the song refers to. Mom, Dad, how do you react when you sin? Nope, I'm not talking about the kiddos and how you respond to their sinful behavior. How do you react when you yourself commit a sin against one of your children? Perhaps you're thinking, like I am inclined to think, me sin against the kids? That just doesn't happen. Reality check, it does. If you would like to do one of the bravest things any mom or dad can do, sit down at a table, say like this, don't let the kids put their hands on it because the fingerprints, and ask them, honey, is there any time that you can recall when your father did something wrong? And then it'll be like a laugh track to a sitcom as the guffaws have to fade away before you can start talking again. Of course they know that you sin against them. The question is, do you know that you sin against them? And perhaps even more importantly, how do you react when you do? Randy Alcorn, great author, wrote a book about heaven that'll make you want to go to heaven. He was at some banquet with his daughter who was asked, if you had to cite the one thing that you remember most about your father's parenting, what would it be? May I ask you to ponder what your child might say? What is your son or daughter's favorite memory of your parenting? If it is not something that has to do with the gospel, then maybe, just maybe, it's time to do a little bit of tweaking. When you sin, do you ever ask for forgiveness? Do you ever say to your child, even the little ones, I'm sorry, will you please forgive me? Granting the power to them to determine if they're going to forgive you or not. Do you ever do that? Now I know what you're thinking again. I can't do that because if I do, well, then the kids, they won't respect their old man. Can I just tell you something? Not only will they respect you more, they will love you more, and it might just become your child's favorite parenting memory of you. This is what Randy Alcorn's daughter said. I remember one time when Dad was harsh with me. Then a few minutes later, he came back into my room and he cried and asked my forgiveness. I've never forgotten that. Why was that such a memorable event? Because Dad, instead of acting like Power Dad, was acting like Jesus. You say, wait a second, Jesus didn't sin against anybody. Of course he didn't. But Jesus always acted humbly. And when you and I repent to our children, we are being humble. We are being like Jesus. And I promise you, your kids will adore you for it. They will honor you more, not less. Have you ever removed some of the garbage from your house? The sin that has been piling up, that's been staining the carpet little by little. Right now, it looks like, this thing is a disgusting mess. It's maybe because you haven't been removing any of the spots. The stains are there because you've never dealt with them. Maybe now is the time to start. And maybe, just maybe, Mom and Dad, this would help to explain why your kids don't talk to you. This isn't just your kids that act like this. I'm fine. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, no, you did fine on the test. Maybe this is why your kids don't talk to you. Rooted Ministries came up with a list of 7 reasons why our kids don't talk to us. See if maybe one of these is the reason that your teen is pretty mum. Reason number 7, I don't trust them. Why do you suppose teenagers would not trust their own parents? Could it be another benefit of repenting toward your children, that your kids will trust you more? Because they will see you as the sinner that you are, and they recognize, I can trust that guy because he's been through this stuff too. Is that possible? Reason number 6 why the teens don't talk. My parents just won't understand. When you sin against your child and you walk into their bedroom and say, honey, I have really blown it. I have done a very bad thing. The next time they do a very bad thing, they're going to realize, he gets me. I sinned, he sinned. I think I can talk to that guy. Reason number 5, it's awkward. Reason number 4, I don't want them to worry about me. Reason number 3, the teens don't talk. We're not close. Want to get close to your child? The next time you sin, sit down and say, honey, I'm sorry. Will you please forgive me? And you will be closer to your child, and your child will be closer to you than you ever dreamed of. Reasons 2 and 1 the kids don't talk. My parents will judge me and they will try to fix me instead of just listening. I don't think that I'm exaggerating. If you will start repenting when you sin with your child, they'll stop thinking that way. They won't think that you're going to judge them from a perch of superiority when you've demonstrated that you are humble and lowly. They won't think that, oh, he's just going to try to fix me and give me another lecture. When you have approached them with meekness, asking for forgiveness. The original question, if you recall, was, what do you do when you sin against your children? So may I ask, what do you do? When we return on Wretched, what do you do when your children sin against you? Next on Wretched.
You won't say it, but we will. If you have children, you're living in a house with little sinners. The great news is that the Bible has tons of information about dealing with sinful people, even those who share your last name. The gospel will transform the way you parent and change the tone of your home. That's why Wretched produces resources like Drive-By Parenting and Wretched Radio and Wretched TV. Wretched. Amazing grace. Amazing gospel.
When your child sins, do you punish your child or do you discipline your child? Welcome back to Wretched. The difference between punishment and discipline is the difference between not biblical and biblical. It's the difference between punishment and retribution and restoration. Do you punish your child for their misdeeds? Do you give them a little comeuppance when they sin? And do you do it in anger? If you are doing your parenting like that, you're not doing it biblically. And you're not doing it helpfully. And the very thing that you seek, which is better behavior from your child, will not be attained. At least not genuinely, inwardly. Sure, they'll clean up the cup when you're around. They'll sit up straight when you walk into the room. But you and I, if we want to see our child genuinely desire holiness, need to address not merely the backside, but the heart. Penal discipline, punishing, discipline. In anger, discipline. Not biblical, and it has nothing to do with the gospel, but discipline does. May I ask you a question? How have you been disciplining your child? Do you know that there are over 24 verses in the Bible that talk about discipline? Not just parental discipline with children, but God's discipline with us, His children. Discipline is not, a horrible thing. Discipline should be done the way that God disciples us, lovingly. And even when there is pain attached to our sin, God still is orchestrating that or permitting that for our growth, for our good, for our holiness. Now, if that's how God treats me, that's how God treats you, how should we treat our children? Rick Thomas, as always, writing a whiz-banger, 12 things that you can consider before you walk to their room with the wooden spoon. Here we go. Number 1, the goal of parental discipline is redemptive, restorative, not in a salvation sense. Spanking doesn't get a child saved, but in orienting the child's heart toward God. Can we do a Selah? And I'm not talking about the singing group. Can we pause just for a second? Redemptive, restorative. I cannot know, nor would I dare to judge, how you do your discipline. So you need to ask yourself, when you discipline your child, whether it's very formal in the quiet room, with perhaps some form of application that's going to sting a wee bit, or when you're simply out at Walmart when they're having a fit and falling down on the ground. How do you react? Is it redemptive? Is it restorative? Are you even thinking these thoughts? Look, I get it. You're busy. You got tons of stuff going on, and you got a lot of things and plates you got to keep spinning. Got it. But do you ever think about your overall trajectory when it comes to disciplining your child? Are you thinking redemption, restorative? I want there to be peace. I want them to make sure that they understand, yikes, you grieved your God. You should be repenting. Do you think about the gospel before you discipline your child? Number 2 from Rick Thomas, no discipline should be done out of sinful anger. Sinful anger is not humble. It is not restorative, nor is it communal. The camera's going this way. Camera's not going that way. I can't see what goes on in your home, and frankly, it's none of my business. But I would ask you, when you discipline your child, are you angry? If you are, you're goofing up the gospel. You say, how am I goofing up the gospel? Who died for your child's sins? Who was punished for your child's trespasses? The answer to that is Jesus. So when you angrily get a pound of flesh, you're basically saying, God, I know you sent your son to die, to take the punishment, the wrath of God on himself so that my child could be forgiven and live. But I don't think it's quite enough. I need a little bit more myself. Yeah, you dealt with this stuff on the cross, but I'm going to deal with this right now. If you are disciplining like that, you're confusing your child about the gospel. There's theology in spanking, and there are lessons to be learned. And if your child only sees angry face, the torqued mom and dad who just storms in, has a meltdown themselves, gets really, really frustrated, gets that look on their face that says, uh-oh, I'm in big trouble, then we are not being good theologians. Number 3 from Rick Thomas, no discipline should be abusive. If you are leaving a mark on your child, you're doing it wrong. Your goal is not to see them turn black and blue. And if that is happening, you're administering too much discipline, painfully and wrongly. Number 4 from Rick, each child is unique. So there is no one-size-fits-all way. See 1 Thessalonians 5:14, Rexella. Every child is different, aren't they? You know that if you've got more than one. One child, you feel like, what do I need to do? Beat them with a brick for them to start getting this? The other child, and they just turn into a puddle of tears because you give them the look. You figure it out for each child using wisdom. Number 5 from Rick Thomas, you must follow a biblical decision-making course to build all your convictions. In other words, you must be in faith. That is how you put together your personalized discipline plan for each child. You need to be persuaded biblically how this child needs to be dealt with, because the Proverbs point out there are different types of fools, and you need to figure out what type of fool you're dealing with. Number 6 from Rick, don't make your experience normative. Did you get beat as a child? Especially, don't let your experience trump God's word. If you're unsure, seek advice. Far too many kids were not disciplined. I wouldn't even say they were punished. They were just physically abused. And if that is you experienced that as a child, your inclination might be, I will never even raise my voice, let alone a hand, to my child. Please use the Bible to inform your parental discipline and not your past experience. How do you react when your child sins? If I'm doing my math correct, we've got 6 more discipline considerations from Rick Thomas next on Wretched. Is your home a school of character or a war zone? Welcome back to Wretched. Rick Thomas, as Rick Thomas always does. Check out his website, rickthomas.net, where you will find amazing, helpful, gospel-centered articles to help you even when it comes to discipline. Hey, sort of like we talk about on these 2 resources, Drive-By Parenting and Drive-By Marriage. Rick Thomas is on this one. Ted Tripp is on that one, both of which are designed to turn your home into a sweet sanctuary that the kids actually don't want to leave. Mom and Dad, I can make a prediction with certainty. If your home is not the place that your children enter through the front door and go, this is the best place in the world, I can almost guarantee you, when they become 18, 19, 20, they're going to say bye-bye, and they are not going to turn back. They are going to knock the dust off of their sandals, and they are not going to want to return home. If your home isn't sweet, and if it isn't a delightful place where the children know, even if I blow it, Mom and Dad will lovingly discipline me. When they sin, they'll ask for forgiveness from me, and there is peace in our home. Does your home have that? Let's continue with Rick's list of 12 things to consider when you discipline your child when they sin. Number 7 from Rick, don't make historical passages or parables normative. In other words, the prodigal son. Rick's point, don't use the prodigal son who didn't get spanked by his father to say, well, therefore we don't have to spank. He turned out okay. He left the pigsty and came home, and he didn't receive a belt to the bottom. I don't have to either. That's not the point of the parable. 24 verses on discipline. It's biblical, it's mandated, it's loving, and if it's done right, what it can create in your home. Number 8 from Rick Thomas, the Bible does not lay out a spanking mandate or a spanking protocol, saying it is this way, the only way, while detailing how it's done. Instead, Mom and Dad, carefulness, humility, and community input is needed here. Community input meaning your local church. Use wisdom for each child. There is not a one-size-fits-all program. Number 9 from Rick, create a no tolerance for sin policy early in your child's life. It is so much easier to teach obedience earlier than later. After the child is older and less teachable, overlook what you can, but deal with the sin when it happens. Hey, talk about a coincidence. I remember when Ted Tripp said on this here resource available at wretched.tv, the best thing that you can do for your child is to get them to submit early in life. And I remember a part of me was like, well, I kind of like that because I like it really clean and quiet in the house. But on the other hand, they're just so little. Teach them to submit, you betcha. Because if they don't learn to submit to you, mom and dad, they're going to struggle to submit to authority, specifically God. Disciplining consideration at number 10. Your primary early goals are not obedience, but heart motivations. In other words, you want to see humility, respect, honor, kindness, deferring love, gratitude, and a servant's heart. Those are the things that you want from your child, an internal change, not just outward conformity. So when you go about the business of disciplining, you need to talk, not just hit them with something. You need to talk and explain and open your Bible and pray together so that they can see that the Christian faith, works. It does something. Consideration number 11, your encouragement of your child should be exponentially more than your discipline. Parent-to-child question, what do you experience more from me, my encouragement or my discouragement? Yeah, well, we're just going to move along. Number 12 from Rick Thomas. Discipline is a picture of the gospel. Don't forget that. It teaches children the weight of sin and an appreciation for Christ taking our punishment. You must teach consequences into your children. They must know that they have been saved from something. There must be clear lines drawn between good and evil. When they do evil, they must understand what they have done, and when they have done right, they need to know that they got it right. Mom, Dad, if there's any takeaway from this diatribe that you just received, no, Friel, it was actually just a beating. Remember the gospel when you discipline. And until tomorrow, go serve your King.